Hello everyone and welcome to Meeple Leaf Reviews. I'm Jeffrey Weber and today I'm going to be doing a review of The Colonists. Now this is a big game, so let's jump right in with the art and components. You literally get a ton of components in this game. So one of the most important things that you're going to want to do is get an effective storage solution. So it makes setup and takedown of this game much easier, as well as keeps things more organized while you're playing. The component quality is all really good. The artwork is from Clemens Franz, who I quite enjoy his art, so I can get on board with that. The theme for this game is you've been tasked with developing a prosperous community. And I really get the feeling like you're doing that throughout the game, especially when you start off in Era 1 and play to Era 4. You start out with just a humble beginning, a couple farms and farmers, and then you're going to be developing towards more ambitious ends with citizens and merchants and production buildings and embassies and all these different things, so you can really see and feel your community grow throughout the game. Now, the rules and teaching for this game, it can look quite daunting on the game board with all these different components and all these different things set up, but I honestly think that this is probably one of the simplest rule sets to weight of the game ratio that I've seen recently. Because the game is very simple, you have a steward on the main board, you take 3 moves and you take an action at each place you stop. The iconography, the graphic design on the board is all very clear, so it's very easy to see what you can do at each of the locations, as well as the game board develops over the course of the game. So you start off with only a few action spaces and more get added as the game progresses, so it's not information overload at the beginning. The other thing that I would say is the thing to make sure that people get clear in their minds when teaching them is the whole storage management system in this game. And this is, I'll talk more about in the gameplay, I think is the crux of this game. Whenever you're going to be spending resources at locations, taking the actions, you need to spend it from your storage facilities. You also have buffers and warehouses, and how you can move goods between those things and be able to spend them is going to be very important. You can't move resources once you start an action, so you need to have all your resources in the right place so you have enough to spend when you take that action. And that's going to be very clear to make sure that everyone understands. Once you explain how you sustain your workers, you're basically ready to go and start playing. So then let's jump right into gameplay and mechanisms, again continuing on with the storage management system. This introduces a lot of interesting and tough decisions to make in the game. When you take an action at a location, let's say you're converting 2 wood into 1 plank. You can do this any number of times. If you only have space for 4 wood, well, you can do it twice. But then you can get more storage space and maybe you have 8 wood, so then you can do it 4 times. What about if you have different resources? Do I get rid of those resources so I can move more wood over into my storage to make this a more efficient action? Or do I do a less efficient action now to hang on to those resources because I might need them later? There's all this resource management and storage management that you're going to be doing that makes tough decisions each step along the way. And like I said, you're going to want to be efficient. This game is about efficiency, especially when you're moving your steward along the board. You need to be able to take an action at the place where you're going to step onto, and you want to make sure that you're making it a meaningful action. If you're just going around taking 2 subpar actions to get to a third more meaningful one, well, you're not being as efficient. So that trying to get everything set up in just the right way, so you're making meaningful, efficient actions all along the way, is quite interesting and tough to do all at the same time. And no matter how many times you do it, you're like, oh, I'm just a little bit off from being as efficient as I want to be, which drives you to be even more efficient the next time. There's a couple other interesting facets in this game. Number 1 being the colonies. There's 9 different colonies. You'll shuffle them up and deal 4 random ones at the beginning of the game. If you play through Era 3, you'll get a 5th one. But they're expensive. You have to take up space on your community board, which can be quite limited once you start building more and more buildings. So you're not really going to be able to build embassies and upgrade them to all the different tiers to get access to all the special abilities. So another tough decision is, which ones do I want to go for? Which ones are going to be most meaningful to me? And then how am I going to get that accomplished? And they do a variety of different things, and it can really make your community feel different than the other players at the board. The other thing are improvement cards, which you can draw and play from different actions on the main board, and they do a wide variety of things of just giving you resources, giving you extra production actions that you can take during the production phase, more workers, more resource production that don't have to take up space in your community board, because that's the other thing that I found is as you're building all this stuff, eventually you're going to run out of space, and then you're going to need more space, which you'll only be able to unlock later on. So space is limited. You can't do everything that you want in the game. So again, another tough, interesting decision to make of what am I going to focus on, what am I going to be able to do, and how am I going to get it accomplished. Now, one thing that I can see as being a negative to this game is that it can be quite fiddly. There's a lot of different components that you're going to be manipulating, from your community board on the buildings to putting them in your storage to spending them to moving things between your storage and your warehouse. The one thing that I found helps is as long as you know how much storage capacity you have, you can say move things from your buffer. Don't actually drop them off in your storage spaces, but then just spend them without putting them down and then picking them up and moving them again. So just knowing in your head how much storage space you have allows you to move things more efficiently without having to drop things off all along the way. Now, there's a couple other things that I wanted to talk about with this game. Number one, it's a modular game. There's 4 eras. You can play through any number. You can start off in any era that you want. For me, the best experience that I've had is playing the era 1 through 4. You get to, again, start off at that humble beginnings and really micromanage and build your community how you want to and be making interesting decisions all along the way. So for me, that's what I've enjoyed the most. I haven't played it with the different starting off in later eras, but I think I just enjoy playing the 1 through 4 the most because it gets me to take it all the way from the beginning to the end of the game. Now you might say, well, playing a 4-era game can be quite lengthy, and there's a couple things that I would say to that. Number one, the player interaction in the game is quite minimal. The only thing is if someone is on an action space that you want to take, you're going to have to pay them a fee to take that action, which in the beginning can be quite jostling for position, but as the game board grows, the likelihood that you're going to run into other people is not going to be that significant. So for me, I'm really only going to play this game 2-player because I don't see adding in all the extra time to play it 4-player, essentially doubling the time, is going to be worth that extra little bit of player interaction for this game. And once you play this game with people and you play it over and over again, I found the game time goes down quite significantly. I played it once, a learning game, 1 and 2 eras, but ever since then I played 1 to 4 eras. The first time was 4 hours. The second time we got it down to 3 hours. And then our most recent game, we played a 4-era full game in 2.5 hours. And for the amount of stuff that you get to do, the amount of development that you get to see, the amount of decisions and tough efficiency actions that you have to try and take, all condensed into this 2.5 hour gameplay experience, is really quite spectacular, and you feel like you get a lot accomplished by the end of the game. So for me, it's a 2-player game. 1 to 4 eras is where I'm going to be getting the most value out of this game for me. So then on to my final rating and review for this game. I really like the art and components. I like the tough, interesting decisions that you have to make. You can't do everything. You have to focus. You have to try to be efficient, and that puzzle of trying to be as efficient as you possibly can be is really quite interesting. You feel like you get a lot done, and you really feel a progression through the game. And then when you're done, you look down at your community and you're like, this is what I've created this game. It's really quite satisfying. The only thing that I would want more for this game. I want more different types of resources, more different resource upgrade paths, more eras even, which I think they do plan on coming out with expansions for this game, so I'm looking forward to that. So for right now, I'm going to be giving this game an 8 out of 10, and I can see it going even higher as more and more content is added for this game, and there's just more and more different things for you to explore and experience within this game. So that's my review of The Colonists. If you like this review, go down and hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We always appreciate when you do that. You can also go to our website, meepleaf.com, where me and my co-host Jacob ramble on about games for many, many hours. So we'll see you guys next time.